Why do poor people make such stupid decisions? And that's not an opinion. The research is clear. The poor are bad at managing their schedules, their finances, their health. They're even bad at managing their kids. Why don't they just smarten up? Are they really that incompetent? Well, yes, actually. Because being poor makes you stupid. Simply not having enough, being in a state of scarcity, is so taxing on your mind that it affects your ability to think. This is known in research as scarcity mindset. I wanted to learn more about scarcity mindset, so I met with a leading researcher in the field who co-authored a 2013 paper titled Poverty Impedes Cognitive Function. That researcher's name?
I'm Jiaying Zhao. I'm assistant professor of psychology at UBC. I focus on poverty alleviation, so I want to know the psychological causes and consequences of poverty. So we want to know why the poor behave in counterproductive ways that, leads them to be more poor. Maybe being poor taxes the mind. Just thinking about financial troubles, how does that influence your cognitive function? We went out to shoppers, to people in New Jersey, to farmers in India, and we ran a bunch of experiments to test our hypothesis. We looked at the same individual when he was poor versus when he was rich. So we found that their IQ was lower by about 13 points when they're poor, and that's equivalent to, losing a night's sleep or aging 15 years from 45 to 60 years old. So the impact of poverty on cognitive function is huge.
So again, it's not that the poor are stupid, it's that being poor makes you stupid. And that's an important distinction. The poor are often seen as inherently lazy, irresponsible, stupid. They're different from us, and so it's their fault for being poor. But really, it's not about us versus them, because anyone can become poor, including you. In fact, you've probably experienced scarcity in some form too. Money is just one way that you can be poor. People can also experience scarcity mindset when they're short on time, when they're on diets, even when they're told how few friends they have. Nobody is immune to scarcity mindset, not even Jiaying.
An analogy of money scarcity is time scarcity, and I experience that every day. I wish we have more time, but everybody has 24 hours, and I just have so much to do that I can't have everything done.
Wait, hold on. That just sounds like being busy. Isn't scarcity supposed to lower your IQ or something? So then, how is Jiaying still smart enough to be a university professor? In fact, a lot of us are constantly scarce on time, and we don't seem to be any stupider because of it. So what does scarcity mindset actually do to our thinking?
You focus, you tunnel on the task that needs to be done right now. I experience time scarcity, especially before deadlines. When there's a hard deadline, it's due by midnight today. Guess what I'm doing? I'm gonna sacrifice everything else in my life. I'm gonna focus on that deadline and I will get it done.
So scarcity mindset doesn't make you stupider per se, but it does make you go into tunnel vision to deal with the scarcity you're facing right now. And sometimes that can be a good thing. In fact, studies have shown that when people have to work under constraints, they become more resourceful. They learn to get by with less, and they find creative uses for the things they already have. So then, is scarcity mindset actually a good thing? Well, no, not in the long run. And certainly not if you can't afford to pay the cost of going into tunnel vision.
It was productive on my work, or in terms of my work, but it was so not productive in terms of everything else. So as a result, for instance, my relationship with my friends would suffer, my relationship with my family would suffer, my health would suffer, etc. But I have to let go of these things because I need to get this thing done. It's a deadline. Now, for me, I can, make up for it later on because, maybe I have other resources to manage this trade-off. But for the poor, when they're so short on resources, when they let go of other things, it's pretty much just, it's a sure loss.
And it's more than just whether or not you can afford to neglect other things in your life. Will going into tunnel vision actually solve the larger problem that's causing that scarcity? When most of us experience scarcity, it's temporary. If we put our minds to the task, that's usually enough to solve the problem. But getting out of poverty or any other tough situation is rarely that easy or that quick. That's when tunnel vision traps you. Because the real cost of scarcity mindset is that you can't choose to turn it off. A part of your mind will always be preoccupied with how scarce things are right now. And so you overlook important details. You lose sight of the bigger picture. You become so fixated on what you don't have that you can't focus on what needs to be done. That's how scarcity makes you stupid.
And that's ironic because imagine you're poor, you have actually a smaller bandwidth to work with. You have lower cognitive capacity to work with. That doesn't help you get out of poverty at all. If anything, it hurts your ability to make sound decisions and better choices to get out of poverty. So it's a vicious cycle. You know, being poor lowers your cognitive functioning, and as a result, you make bad choices and you get stuck in poverty even more.
Nobody wants to be poor, but all of us will face scarcity at some point in our lives. So how can we escape the cycle of scarcity mindset? Is there any way we can avoid it if we know that there are tough times ahead?
So first of all, recognizing how you can focus better and how you can neglect better. So when I say focus better is, all right, I need enough sleep, I need enough food so I can find a job. I can do really well on this task or excel on the final exam. How can I neglect better? To inform everybody else around you or people that who are important to you, but you're not going to be able to see them or hang out with them at that time. And if they're trying to reach you, then you're not available because you are tunneling. They now know.
What about when scarcity is unexpected? Something comes up and now you suddenly have a lot less than you thought you did.
If it's unexpected, I think it's much harder to deal with. A lot of it depends on how much slack you have. So your spare savings in your bank account. So if you have to pay an accidental cost, can you come up with that money? If you have to now spend 2 more hours of the day to deal with something, then you do have that 2 more hours in your day.
And what if you're already deep in scarcity? What about when not having enough is your daily reality? I don't have an answer for that. But researchers around the world are trying to find one, testing different strategies and techniques that might counter cognitive mindset for those people in poverty. But until then, for those of us who are lucky enough that scarcity is the exception and not the norm, why not give some of our attention to those who need it most?
Definitely my research has allowed me to gain a new perspective on people's behaviors. When somebody makes a mistake, my past reaction was blame and just like kind of anger and, you know, why did you do that? As any Chinese parents would do, right? Like, why did you do that? But after studying scarcity, I think my perspective has changed. So when somebody screws up or makes a mistake, my first response is, what was that circumstance under which they made the mistake? You know, did they get enough sleep? Did they eat? Were they having difficulty in their own life? I think it's very easy for us to blame the poor. How can you do this? Or why don't you do that instead? But I think if we're put in the same situation, we probably will make the same trade-offs. So it's difficult. It's very difficult to be in scarcity.
Thanks for watching this episode of Work Forward. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share this with a colleague or friend. Special thanks to Jiaying Zhao at the University of British Columbia. If you want to learn more about scarcity mindset, check out Scarcity, Why Having Too Little Means So Much. The book goes much deeper into the research and theories behind this video, and, fun fact, it's written by the same people who co-authored that 2013 paper with Jiaying. Links to the book and research references in the description box below. I'm Austin Lee, and I hope you find new ways to push your work forward.